Let's get started. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone, for taking the time to be with us. I am Gail, and this is my partner, Kumu Bella. We are part of Compassionate Ko'olau Poko, and we serve the Ko'olau side of our Windward District with the DOE. And our primary kuleana is to provide trauma responsive care to our community and to our schools, including restorative justice, and all of our work is culturally grounded. So today we have some of our friends from Liliʻuokalani Trust here to share their innovation with us, and Kumu Bella, my partner in Aloha, is going to go ahead and introduce them.
Yes, mahalo nui kako, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you again. We especially want to thank these two handsome gentlemen that I have the privilege of introducing this afternoon. First off, we'd like to introduce Palamali, who actually needs no introduction. But his kupuna, I believe, if I'm correct, Palama, I did my little research, comes from the island of Molokai and Maui in Kaupo and Lahaina in particular. As an evaluated researcher, he's responsible to lead initiatives that really benefit our Kanaka Oiwi, particularly initiatives that involve our kane through kuola, our kupuna through hakupuna, behavioral health recovery, and our ʻIke and foster care, and many other initiatives. So he is the Director of Research and Evaluation at Liliʻuokalani Trust. So mahalo nui again, Palama, for joining us. And then we have our master data person, Trenton, Kama'aina of Kailua, if that's correct, Trenton. He actually is a father and a husband, and an amazing analytical and data person. He just reminded us that he told us that he just got an amazing promotion at Liliʻuokalani Trust. So now he serves as the Director of Data Science. And these two gentlemen are here to share, I think, something we think is really important. When we learned of it, we thought this would be wonderful for our community, particularly our kumu that are working with our young people, to introduce them to this amazing creation. And so they're going to let us know about it. And I know some of you have already interacted, so we're excited. Again, mahalo nui, welcome Palama and Trenton to our space. Aloha.
Mahalo nui, Bella and Gail, and aloha mai kako, everyone. And thank you so much for joining today and sharing the time, and also your mana'o with us. And so you can see we'll move right into our presentation, and then we'll have time to talk story. Next slide, please, Trenton. So of course, leading with the Native Hawaiian worldview, it's so important to know who's in the virtual room with us. And so if this is something that feels safe for you, we invite you in the chat to add your name, however you describe your affiliation, whatever you want to hold, and then also the community in which you call home. And so you can go ahead and do that right now, and we'll take maybe a few minutes. Oh, mahalo nui. We can see, I can see, and I hope everyone can also see, but just doing a few call outs, yeah. And so we have Linala Bulatau, who works at Aina Aloha Limahana in Luluku, in Kaneʻohe. So it's funny, right before you joined, we were talking about Luluku earlier. And so mahalo nui. We also have someone, Lisa from Behavioral Health, Kohala Elementary and Kohala High. So mahalo nui, Hawaii Island, Moko Keawe joining us. Yes. And then Kaiser High School is in the house. And we have Ingrid, who's an ELA teacher. Ingrid, what does ELA mean? Kalamai, I'm not in the education field. I know what ELS means. Yeah, one of our foster children was in an ELS program.
It's English language arts.
And arts, okay, English language arts.
Yeah.
Mahalo. And of course, my Tita Kavena's here. How are you, Tita? I just saw you last week. What, Friday? Are you stalking me? So mahalo nui, Tita.
Aloha palama. I have to see a handsome face, that's why.
Girl, I told you get those cataracts fixed, yeah? And then we have Jolene Young. From Ola Lahui. Love Ola, yeah, and the work you do, especially in rural communities, who's a clinical psychologist, yeah. So mahalo, everyone. And then we have Sarah. I'm so rachai ni ele. I gotta like almost read everyone, yeah, who is speaking my social work language, me being a social worker from Manoa and an intern at DOE Education with homeless children and youth. Mahalo nui, mahalo nui. Mahalo nui, everyone, for joining us today. So appreciate for those who feel safe enough to share a little bit about yourself in the chat. And so this who us, who's in the chat right now, and then we'll move on to the next slide, please. So, you know, one of the things, and this is kind of a funny, interesting story. One of the things that we know is that, you know, according to what we have listed here, is that about 20% of American adults, yeah, only use their smartphone to access the internet. Yeah, they don't have traditional internet services, and about 2 out of 3 of adults, yeah, have signs. And I never know this, yeah. And I was like, what is that? Nomophobia, yeah. And I bet some of us have that, where you can't find your phone. It's like, oh my God, stuff is happening, and I don't know how to access it, when my next meeting is, how to reach other people. And then about 1 in 3 teens spend more time socializing with close friends, yeah, online. This is probably not surprising to many of us, especially those who are in the education field. And over 50% of teens spend an enormous time, yeah, on their smartphone hanging out with their friends. And one of the things we also know is the pandemic also occurred in 2020, and that upped about 40% of increase in hourly smartphone use in that year. And so, you know, this is an opportunity, I think, as we see it. Why an app? Yeah, was to create a safe place for kamali'i in the place that they spend most of their time. We'll talk about the development a little later. Next slide, please. So, you know, every story has a mo'okuauhau, or perhaps how we think of it as a genealogy, yeah? And if you look at this timeline, yeah, you're like, bro, it took you guys 1.5 years to develop this. Well, first of all, our day jobs are not app developers. So I just want to make that really clear at the forefront. Yeah, we have a data scientist and a researcher. Huh? What do we know about app development? Because of the pandemic, LT was concerned about the ways to reach our kamali'i and support their social emotional learning. So our CEO, Don Harflinger, big thinker, yeah, fast mover, tossed Trenton a challenge and said, come up with an innovation to address this. And then he, for some reason, pulled me along in the journey because we played together very well. We had different skill sets. So as you can see through the timeline, came up with a big idea from October to the end of 2020. It was really a time to socialize the idea, to get feedback from our different program staff at LT, early childhood education, our research and evaluation team, a team that provides services and at that time residential to youth who were neither employed or in school, and they were a little older, 18 to 24. So it was really an iterative design process at that time. In December of 2020, we started blueprinting the design towards development. And the first quarter of 2021, it was really about, which we don't have a slide here, but it was because we're geeking out about this. It was really coming up with, what was our, minimum of our minimum
Viable product.
Viable product. Thank you. So we ran through different ways of looking at the features and then marking it as, if we're going to test it out small, what do we need to start with? Yeah. And then we ran towards development of the app on April 2021. And then we took it back out. We socialized the prototype to some initial groups. We spent time the rest of 2021 fine-tuning and developing, and then small testing it. And then we launched it. We turned the switch on and then had the app in various stores to download. So if you think of creating an app, and this isn't your everyday job, it's going to take you a really long time. Yeah. Next slide, please. So I think this is really cool. In this slide, this was our alpha testers. And so our first alpha tester, actually, she was an individual, older youth on the island of Kauai. Very engaging, bright app user. Trenton installed the app on her phone, and for a week she used it and broke it several times, and which is really important, right? To tell us in what conditions it was broken, and provided us with how to troubleshoot the app. On the production side, she provided us with with a valuable youth perspective of how to up our app game. And then the lesson we learned from her is that a cloud-based app would not work because of accessibility. She lived in a rural part of Kauai. And so she didn't oftentimes have access and needed to run to the local library to be able to get access to the app. Now, pictured here are our kamali'i from Ko'olapoko during an out-of-school time program, LT program. So we walked them through the homepage and then showed them the features. Then we started to play game. We gamified it. We started to have scavenger hunts with them. If, who could find this and this or upload this and this. And then so the kamali'i were able to interact with the app. And then also to create goals, tasks, and habits, where Trenton will show you a little later. And we thank our IT department who provided Amazon Fire tablets for our kamali'i so that they could just have it ready. And I know that was one of the questions that we saw that you had asked in the pre-survey, asking, can it be used on Fire tablets? And yes, it can. And so our lessons learned from this group of kamali'i was that they wanted a different design than what we had initially showed, one that felt more like Liliʻuokalani Trust, LT, a much more mature design. And it was actually their idea to add in the journal feature. Yeah. So mahalo to our kamali'i of alpha testers. And so I will move on and then toss this over to Trenton, who will actually do the demonstration for us. If you have questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat, and we will, I'll monitor the chat right now.
Well, awesome. Thank you, Palama. So yeah, so up on the screen, you can see that this was the original prototype that the kids tested and that we got all the feedback on, and then what was actually in the App Store. And I hope you had the chance to download what was our actual app after the redesign. So you can, I just wanted to have this screen up so you can see really how different it was and how much we tried to incorporate their feedback, because you can even see like the features. It had things like more like statistics and stuff around that about like their usage of the app and stuff like that that they really didn't feel happy with. And then also just getting their feedback that they really liked, you know, the reactive design with animations. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing the PowerPoint now. And we're gonna transition over to my phone. So you can pull out your phone as well, because it's gonna be a little bit of a follow along demo as we just kind of like walk through the different features and, you know, how the kids design them and use them, and also, you know, some of the staff feedback we've got from our own staff from kids that are using it, and also some little tips and tricks that we would are really excited that we're gonna have recorded here in this video. So I'm stopping my sharing. Right. And there we go. Able to hide you guys. And so what I'm gonna start off with is instead of the homepage, is start off with this balanced well-being assessment. So this assessment is a self-assessment for Kamali'i, and it's a way for them to see how their overall well-being is balanced based off of our Pua Liliʻu well-being framework, which is grounded in these 5 petals of the pua, which is the flower, and Liliʻu, Liliʻuokalani. So Lili, that's the behind the name. And you can see each screen, of course, has our interactive mo'o buddy. So you can see on this one, he's looking into the pool at himself, so taking some time to reflect. And so I'm gonna go ahead, and you can see it tells you the last time you did the assessment. So the last one I did was already today when I was going through and practicing. So and what's cool about this is the questions actually aren't the same every time. So we have a pool for each petal, and then of those pool of questions, it randomly selects 2. So it's only 10 questions. So it's really quick, low barrier. And then the 3 different selections are the same every time. So it's supposed to be something that youth can do really quickly to just get a check on themselves. And, you know, everything might not be 100% applicable, but it randomizes every time. So the first one, so I'm going to go through these really quickly and run through this section. So you can see this one is taking responsibility. Do I take responsibility? So I'm going to say, neutral. Next, I have an understanding of Native Hawaiian worldview. Maybe I don't really know what that means. I feel connected to my peers. Yeah. I feel safe in my neighborhood. Neutral. Do I know different healthy ways to take care of myself when I feel stressed or sad? Yeah, I know a couple ways. I have started thinking about what makes me happy. That's a deeper question, so I don't know how I feel about that one. It's important for me to do well in school. Yeah, I think so. School is good. Have all teachers here, so and then I know how to find financial aid help to pay for my education or training. I don't know how to find that. And then I understand what steps I need to take so that I have options for my future. I'm not sure, so I'm kind of neutral on that. I have a bank account, yes. So you can see that was a quick run through of 10 questions. And then And then what it does is it gives you some feedback for each one of these pedals and these drop down ones. So going into the ʻOhana pedal or tab in the app, you can see that for this one, I had a strong support network, be it my family, friends, or Kumu at school, or friends online, whoever it is, my family of choice. I know someone has my back. I have someone to turn to when I need help or support. There is a safe space for me. I'm someone who people care about, and I also take care of others. My ability to connect and communicate is what creates strong and healthy bonds with my loved ones. And I give back as much as I am given. I have a strong sense of kuleana. There's no limit to my potential and growth. So just like there is 3 responses for each one, this is what it gives you. So instead of like a credit score, you know, where you want it to be higher and higher, this is about finding balance, right? So you can see where in this moment, you know, you're doing stronger in other areas. In other areas, might be some area. So and the message is always very strength based. It's never so if we look at like Naʻau, which was the first one and the lowest, which is cultural and spiritual connection, you can see here's for like more of a beginning level on this. So you can see that I'm just starting to learn about my culture and my spirituality. They're exploring my native language, values, and practices. I'm figuring out what keeps me grounded to who I am as a person. I'm figuring out where I come from, which will give me a stronger sense of self. My journey to inner peace and balance is ongoing. Learning about my culture and working on my spirituality will help me build Polina with others. This is just a starting point to finding ho'opono balance in all areas of my well-being, and I'm beginning to bloom to my full potential. So you can see how those tie together, and then these dimensions, you can see on the legend for this chart here. There's also these tasks, journal, and resources. That's green. So every time you reset your assessment, it starts over, but then this allows you to track what areas inside the app that you've been investing your time into. So you can see, because everything ties to one of these dimensions. So we're here on the second tab, right? And so I want to start here with the assessment, so we kind of, instead of going linearly through the pedals, through the tabs of the app, so that we can see the framework. And then so I see that there's these bubbles here in each dimension, and these are actually recommended activities and things I can do to add to my calendar. So I'm going to take time to reground myself. So if I click on here, this allows me to create a new task, and you see it automatically pulls in the name. And it gives you some options that quickly go through and add some features that will control its behavior in the task management and like calendar feature. And there's 2 ways. So if that's like overwhelming for there's this little toggle right here. We can go one by one through the different items as well. So I can see, and then I want to do this task on a specific day. It'll allow me to schedule it for today. And then I'm not going to put for a specific time, and I'm not going to make it a habit. And you can see that it already is mapped to this dimension. But if I want to change it, and say, you know, this task is really going to be focused on my, you know, emotional health and well-being, grounding myself versus the cultural and spiritual activity. But I like that one. You have the ability to go and change which one as well. So I go ahead and I create it. And so where this pops up is over here on the first tab. And now we can see that this bubble has now come over here, and it's already on my calendar for today. So right when I open the app, it's going to be right there. If I just wanted to put this, but I selected like I'm not sure when I wanted to do this, it will go up into this task queue, and then you can drag it down to a day. So you can just create, so it works as both like a task manager and a calendar. And it's supposed to be really simple. And this is actually one of the hardest pages from like a design and development perspective, because, you know, there's so many different calendar apps, you know, that we all use every day, you know, Outlook, and all these different ones. So how do we make this, and, you know, and we didn't want to like redo something that already exists. So really this is kind of like for yeah, it was one of the more challenging ones. So we want, and because of like the age range, we just wanted to make it like a more friendly and approachable way to like start building the executive skills, and just like a lower barrier way to using, just like managing your some extra tasks and stuff like that, and just focused around well-being. But yeah, trying to reinvent the calendar took a lot of research into design because it's a very old thing, and you know it's very rigid. So yeah, so that's the task queue. One thing that I forgot to mention on the last slide is there's this little butterfly, and this kind of gives the instructions and the overview of this page. So you can see this is the calendar page where you can look at your schedule, move things from your task queue to your schedule, and check your task queue to see if you missed any past tasks. So you can use the plus button to add a task from any page, so in the bottom, and then you can press the butterfly icon at any time if you need a reminder of the app functionalities. So that was a great, right? So this task is on my day now. So what can I actually do with it? So we have the swipe functionality, see, so I can either complete it or I can delete it. So if I delete it, I actually can just return it to my queue. If I'm like, I don't want to do this today after all, I just pop it up to the queue, and then I can go to tomorrow. I can go drag it to tomorrow. So it's just a way that I can go, and now I completed it. If I pop over, you can see it now. For my Naʻau, I've done a task, a journal, or resource around here, so I can see that I'm, you know, putting time and energy into balancing my well-being. So that's how those. And there's some other features too, as that it hinted at, right? We can make this a habit, and I don't want to do that because it actually puts it out for like every single day. So I'm not going to do that right now, but that's a really cool one. So then you would have it every single day, and you can put it as a certain time. And if you are using it, one thing you'll notice if you download the app is that it pings you the night before, and it's like, is there anything you want to do, add to your calendar for tomorrow or reflect on? But we try to not have too many notifications, and just while we're talking about notifications and privacy and things like that, and we can see that there's like a lot of, especially like when we're talking about journaling, like how is this data managed? So that was an important part. And Palama hinted at this when he was talking about our user Courtney on Kauai. So the original prototype version actually was entirely cloud-based. And so all the data was in the cloud, which of course is secure, but if you don't have a connection to the cloud, you don't have your data. And then there's also just the responsibility and kuleana, if you are storing these kids' data, you know, do you have a responsibility to like monitor it, right, for safety and things like that? And, you know, and under what circumstances, you know, if we have it, who could access it, right? And all these complicated things, you know, because we are researchers and things like that. And it's like, if we have this data, could we not look at it, right? Or, you know, so that was an important decision where we decided, you know, we're just actually going to store all the data locally in a database on the phone. So there's actually all the data, we don't have access to it at all. And the only functionality that we really track at all is when you create the login. So we know how many users and how often they're logging in if they're using the app. So you can track usage at that on that level, but other than that, we don't collect any information at all on any of the users, and it's actually all stored on your own phone with nothing even out there on the cloud. So Yeah, so it's not going to use up any of your data and stuff like that, for the most part, except for a few resources, which are, we'll get to in a few minutes. So anyway, so circling back down to the functionality, yeah, so the home page, we hit this, and then so I hinted at the resources. So on the graph, we saw that there's these resources, as well as tasks. So these are actually resources that we want to provide, and they have a lot of different categories, so you can filter it again using our framework. But you can see there's access for like crisis, different crisis resources, as well as some really awesome affirmations that we had our intern do. So, and these are locally on the phone. So
affirmations encourage us to believe positive things about ourselves and our world. Saying and believing in positive affirmations sets our hopes and dreams in motion to create the life we want. Negative messages and opinions surround us everywhere, from the media, from other people, and even from our own thoughts and self-doubts. Believing these thoughts can make us sad and limit us from reaching our full potential. Using affirmations helps us to challenge these negative messages. Affirmations should be simple and positive. When creating them, use the present tense and phrases such as I am. An example could be I am growing and learning every day. While saying your affirmations, picture yourself achieving what you are saying. Taking just a few minutes out of your day to repeat your affirmations can rewire your brain and motivate you. Say them in the morning when you're getting dressed, or even in the shower. Using affirmations may seem strange at first, but you will quickly learn to love them. Just try it, it's easy. You'll find the affirmations organized into 5 areas of well-being. Select the well-being category you want to focus on today and listen to the recorded affirmations. There will be a pause between each one to give you time to repeat it and visualize or picture it in your mind. After saying your affirmations, jot them down to help you remember them throughout your day. You can even write your own affirmations. You ready? Let's go.
yeah, so that was the intro to the affirmations track. And you can see that
Affirmations.
and I hope it wasn't too echoey. For that part. Okay, cool. I'm getting a shaking my head on that one. Yeah, so so this is one of the yeah, so and of course we have our queen at the top, and we have, you can see this, it will explicitly say if it like and will open a link, and I don't want it to open up another tab on my phone. So I'm not going to open these ones, but these ones they will say if it's a website. So those are really the only features in the whole app that require internet connection, as if the resources is something that we link to. But like things like the affirmations, these are actually all downloaded inside the app, all the videos, so that they have access to all that. And then as far, youth voice was really important in developing that, and that's something that we want to keep incorporating, especially for our next set of updates. Since we have a wider, more diverse people using it, group of people. So the first thing is, you can do an app survey, and this will allow them to say, what things they liked, what they didn't like, if something's broken or not working, or if there's other, and it also asks them, what other resources would you like to see in here? And then it just gives the ability to see our LT social media pages linked over there. But there's a lot of really great resources in here. You can see we have Ola Kino Stretching. So we tried to hit all dimensions. And don't worry, this one doesn't have Palama and a tutu. But yeah, so we have oops, I hit complete. But yeah, if you hit view now, yeah, you can see here's we have ones with bands, and this is with one of our instructors. So you can see that she created a whole series for us. And we have a series that I created around technology and you. So this one is all about safety and cybersecurity and things like that. So we're throwing this out there. We want this is an opportunity for them to learn a little bit more, about the internet, how the internet works, mobile devices, all the safety around that, and then cyberbullying. And if they really loved everything in these tracks. There's even an intro to cybersecurity from like the NSA, that a page designed for kids. They're interested in that. So yeah, so these are the tracks. I think I hit all the main yeah, and then we also have other cultural activities like Hanu Hā, so breathing, since this is a well-being app. So and we have different staff members who recorded it for us, including one with movement as well. So those are the resources that we have in there now. And that's one of the things that we really want to expand and grow, because Palma showed you that long timeline, but we've kind of been on a pause as we get back to our regular jobs and catch up on everything, and really just letting the app be out there a little bit and really getting feedback from our staff and the kids that they've tested, that are using it now that we've released it to the Apple Store and the Android Store. So jumping to our final tab in the app, the final section is the reflections. So this was the feature, our interpretation of the feedback that the Kamali'i gave us around journaling. And we thought this was really interesting, that they asked for this space. And they wanted a way to be able to just see at a glance. They said, I want to be able to scroll and see like a history of like how I'm doing. So around that, we created, or we came up with this idea of mo'o emojis. So using our mo'o character that's on every page, we created a series of emojis that you get to select when you do the journaling. And even though the youth, they're really enthusiastic about journaling, we all know it can be, well, if we've done journaling, it can be very difficult, to sit down with a blank page and just open yourself up to that. So if we hit new reflection here, you can see that you can do a free form journal. So let's just enter, a rich word text editor, or you can go and do a guided reflection, and this is really good because it pulls up a prompt for you, and then you don't have to, and it's like a starting point for reflecting. So each one has a title. There at the top, you can see this one is reflecting on Olelo, and we can see that hearing and speaking or hearing Olelo makes me feel blank because blank. And we can see that this one is tied to the Naʻau pedal. But let's say, I didn't really feel this question. We have this star in the corner. And you can see that's asking, it's just double checking, right? In case you hit this accidentally, you don't want to erase your journal prompt or you didn't know what the star did. So, it's asks you, are you sure you want to pick another random prompt? And, it's going to erase the current one. So I said, okay, randomize. And this one is reflecting on my connection to where I live. So you can see this one is, when I blank, I feel connected to where I live because blank. So this can be, I'm going to say it when I look out my window and I feel connected to where I live because I can see the mauna where I live. So I'm gonna save my reflection, and here is where the mo'o pops up, and it asks me 2 questions. And so this came from a kilo journal that our staff do as part of their program, one of their programs with kids. And it's just about, you know, the Hawaiian cultural practice of kilo and kiloing around you, the environment. So you can see picking the weather today. So ua, rainy, is what I'm gonna pick because that's how it started today for me. And then we can see here, now we kilo your Naʻau. And you get to pick one of the emojis to say how I'm feeling, right? So we have huhu, angry, annoyed, confused, cool, niele, that's Palama. Oli Oli, excited, Oli, happy, aloha, loved. And so and you can see, so we have a lot of different ones. So today I'm gonna say that I like this one with the tongue sticking out, kolohe. So I'm gonna save, and you can see that now in my journal history, I can see what emoji I selected when I did the guided reflection, and it has the title from it. And then I can click on it and I can see the entire thing. And I can see what made me pick that. And then and I can delete it if I feel like I made a mistake. So yeah, and you can so those are really cool on the guided ones, but I just wanted to also show that here's the freeform one. So you can go ahead and select colors, and it has pretty much everything for formatting. You can even see a picture or a movie. And if you have voice enabled too, as far as accessibility goes, I don't have it enabled, but staff that do have it enabled, you know, they're able to just hit the microphone and just speak right here and not even have to type anything. So that's one thing you can set up if you use that. And then when you save it, it asks you the same kilo questions. So that takes us through our 4 tabs. So I'm going to go ahead and transition back to our PowerPoint slide, unless there's any question that someone wants us to see something one more time again. While I have this up.
Trenton, someone's asking, Don's asking, how do you reset the password?
Sure. So yeah, this is something that we need to get documented better, like with the help. Is if you forget if you can't log in, if you try your password, if you keep trying it, it will actually give a pop-up. They'll give you the option to reset it. So just make a few unsuccessful attempts to log in, and then you'll have the option to reset it. But is there any questions that require a demo of any of the features while I have the app up? Cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and transition back to our slideshow. So
yeah, Trenton, can you keep
yes,
it up? I have a sense before you move on. Does
sure.
anyone want to see anything? Do you have a curiosity around something? Is there something that you want Trenton to further explore? Just shout it out. It's a loving group. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
in context with the kids you work with, or just
yeah, and what you guys are thinking, yeah, too, I can so one other thing is, you know, we talked about updates to the content, and then, you know, fixing bugs. One piece of content that yeah, we didn't do any update last year on the app. So one piece of content that is going to be updated this year is our moon phases on the calendar. So I didn't program them that far enough into the future because I wanted to have to go and do an update. But if we look at the beginning of this year, you can see that it gives you the moon phase and also some ʻIke kupuna about different cultural activities, you know, either fishing or planting that align with that moon phase. So that's something that yeah, I only programmed it so far into the future. So and we didn't do an update last year. So in this year's update, we'll refresh that part of the calendar.
Yeah, and those
And then
reflections by the kupuna are actually from, if you know Auntie Ulu Gorman, she is in spirit now, but she was a kupuna Kanaka Ole, one of Kanaka Ole sisters who provided that for us for the moon phases.
And we had a hand up, guys. I don't know who had their hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Someone had their hand up
Just
earlier.
do a shout out.
That
Yeah,
was,
go
I
ahead.
did, first of all, I'm just so impressed with the thoughtfulness and the work, and I'm really glad you're demonstrating it because I wasn't able to navigate through very easily, and probably has to do with my age. But my question is with the Pono activities, when I click on them, it goes to a YouTube channel. And I wasn't sure if you mentioned that it would not open another tab, or if all of the activities do open another tab, and just feedback because I don't have a history saved on my YouTube channel. There's some very strange recommendations that pop up beneath the target video. So I just wanted to give you that feedback and also ask if there's something I might be doing wrong.
Thank
cool.
you.
So yeah, so I guess my question is which activity was that? Or do you know which resource that was?
I tried several of them. So I went to the affirmations and I went to the twists and folds, and
Yeah, so those are all actually on inside the phone. So I'm not sure on that one.
I can forgive others.
yeah, I see you do it, but when I do it, it's going to YouTube.
So when you go to the affirmations, it goes to YouTube.
Yeah. Let's
Do you mind telling me if you have an Android? Do you have an Android?
I can
Android,
forgive
yes.
others.
Okay. And do you know which YouTube
I am
link it is going to?
Which,
Or what video resource it is? Do you know what the video is? Sorry.
so the one I hit was just the first one, Naʻau affirmations. But it goes to YouTube and then it has a whole bunch of, well, you probably can't see. It has a whole bunch of other videos as well. Well, I don't know if you can see it. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I was just noticing it was different than what you were presenting.
Okay. Yeah, no, appreciate the feedback. And
you know, part of our learning and redesigning is we want folks to provide us with where it's funky so we can get in there and improve it. Yeah, kind of like what our kids did and provided us with honest feedback right away when things were broken and didn't work, and we are actually wanting it to be broken. That's the only way that we could improve it. So is your name Sarah La? Sarah La?
Sarla, it's like Carla, the S.
Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, it's please continue everyone to tell us when you run into roadblocks, okay? Because it really does help us. Yeah. It's about us, not don't blame yourself. Sorry.
No, really appreciate that feedback, because that's probably a workaround for that version, just because the app size or something like that. And we probably link to a YouTube link, but then like you said, if there's no, if it's just a YouTube, if it's just straight to YouTube, then you could have all kinds of weird stuff on there, right?
Yeah, so Trenton, there's more, want to comment, want a question. I'll take the comments if it's related. It says under affirmation Naʻau on YouTube. It's linking to YouTube. Is that correct, Christine? Is that, yeah? So do you have an Android also? Yes. So
so it looked like it's linking to the YouTube. So I can definitely look into that. But was it the correct it was still the correct resource though? Like it was still the resource that you clicked on. Okay. Really appreciate the feedback on that side.
yeah.
I just tried it on airplane mode and it wasn't able to link. So I think, yeah, maybe for Android, it does just go straight to YouTube.
Yeah, cool. Well, really appreciate that feedback, and yeah, no, it just is starting to refresh my memory from a couple years ago. You know, but yeah, no, getting, you know, it probably, you know, I'm thinking that was probably a last minute workaround we had to do when we were publishing it to the App Store. Just because the app size probably wasn't compatible or something like that. So, really good feedback on that. So, thank you.
Trenton, Gail's asking, are there games on the app?
No, so we don't have any games per se. There is the gamification of it tracking the, you know, these different resources.
Right.
They do, so is that gamification because it tracks progress, but there's no game in there yet. So, but that
Yeah,
would be.
Gail, I think what you heard me say is when we engaged our alpha users, our Poco kids, we had to create a game for them to play, to be able to, you know, and then we gave out prizes who could create a habit and a task and stuff like that. And they were all winners, actually. But yeah, that's how we played the game to engage them, and they paired up, yeah, shoulder shared. And so that's probably where you heard about the game. Are there other questions? You know, let me move into looking at some of the questions that you all had provided us with earlier. And I grabbed it from Google because I don't have a lot of efficacy around Google Docs or forms, and I put it in Excel. So I actually shared it with Trenton, and I'm hoping, and I, first of all, thank you all for helping us think, yeah, and think better. So one of the questions was about information for disabled community and individuals. Yeah. And so Trenton, what are some of our thoughts related to that? I know we have the voiceover, but you know, there's many different abilities. Yeah. And so what are the thoughts about that?
Yeah, so this, I guess, really for that we're relying on the technology of the app framework that we're using. So as far as like the compatibility with screen readers, and technology like the voice reading, that all is going to have, so it's gonna, we would have the built-in compatibilities with Flutter, which is the framework, and it's called Material Design, which is the kit that we built, like the design kit that we build it with. But that is something that I think that we should do more testing around, just to see what kind of hiccups, right? Because you don't really know until you go and you try testing the compatibility. So yeah, definitely that's something that we are open to, if anyone has like specific use cases and things like that.
Yeah. So you know, the answer, it sounds like, is that, yeah, we are limited. Yeah. And it isn't an app that can be picked up and used by all children. And we recognize its limitations and its inaccessibility for all children. Yeah. And if you have, again, like Trenton says, specific ideas, please let us know. Yeah. On how to make this space for all children, yeah, and all learnings, yeah, in different ways how children learn. So here's another question, Trenton, and this one seemed to be patterned across several responses. you know, and it's about no phone use in school, right? So what do you do? Well, obviously we know then you can't use the phones in school. There shouldn't be. The other thing is, you know, what other devices could it be downloaded to? That then, let's say, Kumu or other instructional teachers could access the.
Yeah, so that is really going to like if it can run on something like an Amazon Fire tablet, but you know, with the limitations that you're probably going to need like IT to set it up because it's not directly available in the Amazon store, but if they know how to run like an Android package on there, it is compatible and it can run, but for the future we'd like to put it on more marketplaces, but at the same time I don't know if that's locked down as well, right? I don't think they just let the kids just download whatever, so it can run on tablets, but getting it on there is a more technical thing versus just hitting download.
Yeah. And I'll get to the question in the chat in a second by Evern. But it related to that question, Trenton, there was a question of, are Kumu able to project, the app? So there could be all class learning in that space, rather than just individual on a phone.
Yeah, so you know, we saw today that I shared the phone through Zoom, right? So if you have Zoom on the device, you can share it that way with the phone screen thing. Some tips. You know, turn off your notifications, just turn on focus mode so you know you don't have all those you know, strange pop-ups from your other apps. You know, with your affirmations or whatever. Is probably the biggest thing if you're projecting directly from the phone. And then yeah, and what I'm hearing is, you know, that we probably Palama should write some guidelines on different usage, just to, you know, increase the access to this technology, because you know, like writing a guide on how you would install it on a tablet, right? So people don't have to go out and do that type of technical research, right? If we could have, you know, just the 5 steps, that would lower the barrier a lot, you know, versus having to know what to Google, you know, you know, and the different steps and stuff like that. So I really appreciate all the questions that we're getting today and that we
Yeah,
got.
great suggestion about guidelines. Yeah.
Yeah, just different use cases.
Right. There's a question. Are we limited for how long we can have this app, or is there a time limit?
Yeah, so this was one of actually the other huge benefits of having it run locally on the device instead of being cloud-based, is that it really lowered our costs, right? To not have to have all these web servers storing the data. So it's actually available, you know, to anyone that wants to download it. And the only thing we ask is that they make an account so that we can track, you know, how many people are actually using it, and that just, you know, allows us to say, you know, we need to allocate the resources for Trenton and Palama to, you know, work on this because people are using it. So
Thanks, Trenton. Keep on putting your questions in the chat. I think that yes, here's a question. Is there going to be a version in Olelo, Hawaii for our Kulakaiapuni or immersion children? Trenton, would you like to take that question?
yeah, so this isn't the first time that we've had that question, you know, since this is, you know, a culture-based app, is can we have an Olelo version? And I think that's definitely something that we have on our roadmap for requests. So you know, the more we hear the need for it, the higher we can prioritize that feature. So appreciate the question. So
Sure.
not yet.
Not yet. Yeah. Here's a question that popped up. How many profiles can you have? Oops, it moved. Can you have on the app? I'm wondering if there are no phones at school, if multiple students can use the app with my iPad, if that makes sense. And then it says, or because there are no phones allowed at school, can multiple students access the app and their profile through my iPad in my office?
Yeah, so I don't remember off the top of my head if we have it in the App Store, if it can download for iPad or not, if we for the launch. But as far as, so I'm not sure if it'll just run on the iPad. But if that's a need, that's definitely something we can do in the next version. Push out a build for that too. So definitely writing down just like increasing access for the tablet seems important in the school versus cell phone. And then but as far as like user accounts go, yeah, so you just have to sign out and then sign in, and then it creates its own, all the data is in that, in like a data, it will create its own copy of a database with all that user's data. So but you know, if they go and log into another device, right, with that username, their data is not going to be there, right? Because remember, it's only stored on that device. So they could use the same login for multiple devices, but your data is not going to go from device to device.
Yeah. And Trenton, is there a cost if we were to then create one for an iPad or to be available in the stores?
Yeah, so the cost of that is just really the development costs of doing that, of you know, however many days it would take to do that build. So it's definitely something I think that's doable. It's just
The resources.
yeah, just the resources around it, right? Because yeah, this is just one project versus a team. So yeah, we are continuing development on the app is the next question. And then money management. So yeah, we are definitely continuing. For this year, it's probably, you know, the priority is going to be around the bug fixes, and you know, a few features. We're probably not going to expand a whole nother functionality. So for like money management, you know, because you know, that's the thing, is the app can't do it all. So but I like the idea of having more resources around the Waiwai dimension, because I think that was one. So maybe linking to another app or other resources. So
So you're monitoring the Q&A, right? The question.
oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that's where I saw that
Okay, I
one
just
pop
want to
up.
make sure. Yeah. We're making sure. Okay. I
And then yeah, so
Go.
we had the, how do you plan to introduce this to our youth? So right now we've been we haven't had any like campaigns per se. So we have done a few talks in groups like this with counselors and things like that. Paloma and I have gone around, but really last year we kind of took a break, I would say, as far as like taking it on the road, and that we're hoping that this event here is kind of bringing it back to our plate, to the top of our priorities, and we hope to be sharing it more in more spaces like this, and just thinking about how we can partner with other people, you know, that have the capacity to, you know, share this out and socialize it. So, you know, things like, you know, making more video content, like a recording, like how to use it, you know, might be really helpful right now, because not everything is text based. And so yeah, so definitely just so much. So that's what I have to say. But this project overall is just so much. And so yeah, I'm just really was thankful to have my wife who can mentor me because she's an app developer. Else I would never have this idea. I would never be have the courage to try to do this, you know, without someone that can mentor me.
All right. So you see our emails in the chat. I made sure I didn't forget that, because in case you have questions, you want to engage us. Gail had already asked us about an interest of us presenting at one of the schools. I think it was Kahuku. And certainly if we can get that early on in our calendars, that would be fantastic. Yeah. Are there, and so here's another question in the one of the questions you all asked is, how can we integrate it at home and school? So I wonder if that person is here or not, because that's a big question, yeah? And I'm not quite sure I fully understand it. Yeah, so the integration between home and school. Is that person here who wrote that comment in the survey? No. Okay. Okay, I think I covered most of the
yeah, we just saw one more question in the chat was, can we share this with the youth in our own family? And yeah, so this is actually open to anyone, like I said, because of the way we designed it. It doesn't cost us anything to really have more users since we're doing all local data storage. So yeah, anyone can try it out. But of course, we're always going to be privileging, you know, the youth and their voice as far as like making changes. And I think that's what separates this from other apps is, you know, there's lots of apps that, you know, we're trying to get the youth to use, but it's for, you know, someone else's agenda. So we're hoping that this being just for them, it creates kind of like Paul Lama said in the beginning, you know, something that's for them, by them, and like a safe space for them that they feel comfortable using, and that they're like not being monitored or anything like that. So
yeah. And again, it's about a safe space for them. Yeah. Any other questions? Because that's it. That's all Trenton and I have today, folks. Yeah. So download it, play around with it. Something popped up. Will you still be in a testing stage, or can we tell others? Oh, please spread the word. Please spread the word. Yeah. We went through the testing phase because it led us to, you know, to actually the launch. Yeah. And so once we launched the product, then it was for everyone to use, though the learning is still ongoing. And that's why I put in our emails. So let us know what you're learning in this space. Yeah, interacting. Let us know what resonates. Please share with us where the glitches are so we can make sure that we can improve it. Yeah. If you find issues related to accessibility, not only geography, internet, cloud-based, but also with certain types of students and certain types of student learning, let us know about that too, because it helps us hold more of like thinking, being able to think together and creatively problem solve together in order to promote the well-being of our kamali'i, of our children. Yeah. So please, 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 as critical colleagues, critical in a good sense, yeah, please help us think better about use for kamali'i, because once we start to think about it, we will try to design it and then take it back to our kamali'i users and ask them, what do you think about this? Yeah, in terms of the idea, and then also if we build it into it. And so. And then don't forget, there's a survey. That's right. Gail just dropped into the chat. So help Compassionate Ko'olau and these wonderful women also collect data. yeah, I'm a data nerd, so of course, yeah, about their series. So if there's no more questions, I really wanted to thank you all again. You know, journeys are wonderful. We end up oftentimes ending where we began. And so I want to thank you again for sharing your time and your knowledge, and your experience with us. It's been a really wonderful learning space for Trenton and I. And please ping us. And let us know if you need any special tailored presentations to whomever, okay? So mahalo from us, yeah. And
Mahalo. Mahalo, Palama and Trenton. That was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing this safe space that you've created for Kamali'i and for allowing us to participate and offer our suggestions or our thoughts. And yeah, thank you so much for taking the time and for developing this. It's beautiful. Bella, did you have anything you want to add before we
No,
sign?
just again, mahalo nui. We hope that you find this useful. We hope that you tell others about it so that, you know, this kako effort, I think the more we can expose our youth and our kumu and those that engage with youth with this app, that we can, you know, hopefully, all the things that are designed in this app is beautiful to be utilized. So mahalo nui again, Palama and Trenton. Yeah. So we will have the recording up very soon on our website. So if somebody missed it or you want to go back and watch it again to learn how to use the interface, it'll be up on our Compassionate Ko'olapoko website. Again, mahalo nui for your time, for being here. And of course, our two gentlemen from Liliʻuokalani Trust, mahalo nui. Right. Have a wonderful afternoon, kako. Aloha.
aloha no, everyone. Yeah, malama yourselves.
Bye.